Welcome everybody to our BNI Talks webinar. My name is Steve Tenuzzo, and I have got returning presenter. This is number 4, number 5. I don't know, Mike.
I don't know.
Mike
I'm
Savage.
loving every minute of it, though.
Yeah. And so we are talking about something very important. It's almost the end of the year. Somehow we're in the middle of this, well, the beginning of December. And it's time to start looking at next year and talking about goals. Mike and I had a one-to-one recently, and we were talking about, what's going on in your business for next year. And I am all in for next year. I'm doing a whole new website, new identity, the whole deal. So I'm ready to take some notes, and I hope you are as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Mike, and we're going to get started right now.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. As he always says, let us know where you're from. Put it in the chat box. We'd love to get the people from all over the globe participating. And yeah, like Steve said, we are in that time of year. It's the last season, last month of the year. And what better time to start thinking about next year? And oftentimes they have this thing that's called a New Year's resolution. And typically those last 6 weeks. And so I'm hoping that we can take this to the next level, make 2023 your best year ever. And I have 5 steps that I want to share with you that will help you get there. And I use them myself. It's something that I've shared and I've learned and I've practiced. And I've improved this over the course of my life. And so today, what, Steve?
I said, I got my notebook. I'm ready to take some notes here.
Yes. So right now, this is how I'm feeling. Yes, I'm feeling like congratulations to you for being here, showing up. You didn't have to be here. 90% of life is just showing up because you never know what's going to happen. So congrats on that. And how in the world could I have a goal-setting webinar without my own goals for the event today? So I have 3 goals. First one is I want you to leave with confidence to set some big goals and crush some of those limiting beliefs. They happen to us all. It's real, it's true, but how do we build that confidence to get to that next level? Number 2, a clear vision of where you're going and why in 2023. Why do we want to get there? It's enough to say stuff, but there's the purpose of why. That's the big one. And my 3rd goal, it's so secret, I can't even tell you about it. It's going to come at the end of the presentation, but it's a powerful one, and I'm just delighted that we're going to have some fun. The most important thing, now, if you have not been able to download these 2 documents, you can do it now. I would recommend, though, that you at least write down this website. Go to my website, thesavagesecrets.com/playbook, and you will be able to get these 2 products. The first is my book, Dream Big and Crush Your Goals. And the second one, which is really where we're going to spend some time today, is your Crush Your Goals workbook. And this is where all the magic is going to happen. This is where all the excitement, we're going to get all of our stuff down on paper and hold ourselves to a really high standard. So if you have any questions, I can also put that into the chat box a little bit later. But from an agenda standpoint, I want to talk about the power of dreams. Why are dreams and goals so important? What are the things that go into that? It's almost like most of the great things that happen in our lives typically don't happen accidentally. You did something. You had a dream. You had a vision. Something happened. You took action, and the dreams are powerful. I'm also going to share with you the Entrepreneur's Trilogy, which is my philosophy on entrepreneurship. I have been termed, I am a coach, but I am not a business coach. A business coach implies that you work on just business stuff. The challenge is we were men and women long before we were businessmen and women. And there is this philosophy that I have, I'll share with you about the belief system for entrepreneurship, number 2. Number 3, I'm going to share the 5-step crush it formula. This is the formula that we can use to identify where we want to go, how we want to get there, what are the steps we need to take to get there. And then finally, let's take some steps to make it happen now. What are the things that we can do to make this a reality now? So a little bit of background about Mike. Okay, if you have been listening for more than 7 seconds, you can hear the accent. Yes, born and bred in Boston. And this is what got me going into the world of entrepreneurship. I was 11 years old and I wanted some Larry Bird Converse sneakers. And I went to my dad and I said, Dad, I want some Larry Bird Converse sneakers. And he said, Mike, Larry Bird Converse sneakers cost money. Go find money and go buy them. That was the beginning. So I said, okay, how do I do that? My very first step was I grew up near a golf course, and my first business I started at 11 years old. This is actually Mike as a senior in high school, playing golf, even though he looks 11 years old. But what I did, I had a purpose. I lived near the golf course. I went out, I found the golf balls, I washed them, I put them in an egg crate carton, and I took them back out to the golf course and sold them back to the golfers. And I had the most fun. Sometimes the golfer would put a little mark on there, and I'd get them, I'd clean them, and I'd sell them back to them because I'd whack it in the hole, whack it in the woods on the first hole, and I'd go back and sell it to them on the seventh. So this was my first entree into entrepreneurship. Since then, I've done a few things over the last 30 years. I built a bunch of businesses, had about $250 million in sales with all of my companies. I've been on boards of advisors. I've had boards of advisors. I've been an investor. I've had investors. I've had partners. I've had the highs and the lows of building companies. I call them Hollywood wins and soul-crushing defeats. You know, it is not a straight line to building a company. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of patience. And most important, you just can never quit. And then I wrote a couple books. One of them, if you go to that link, the savagesecrets.com/playbook, you can get one of those. If you're interested in the other book, Triple Threat, Only 3 Ways to Grow Your Business, shoot me an email at coachmike@thesavagesecrets.com, and I'll get that right out to you. And then finally, the most important thing I think I've ever done, the greatest joy I've ever gotten in my life is being a dad and a husband. So the very first business that I actually had a ton of passion for was my 2 children. I'm fortunate that company is gone for 22 years now. I have a 20 and a 22-year-old, and there was only one goal with that business. I wanted to raise happy, healthy, self-confident kids. And I'm blessed to be at a point where they have flown the coop. I'm doing this thing called empty nesting just recently, and I don't get it and I don't understand it yet, but I'm doing my best. But it was a great journey. This is my partner in crime, my greatest cheerleader. She's been a business partner, my wife, Donna. We've started several companies together, and we currently have a couple businesses right now. And our relationship is really interesting. So I wanted to share, this is my bathroom mirror. And I have this program called Savage Sunrise, which is how do you start your day on fire with energy and excitement. And I have these quotes on my bathroom mirror. I look at them every morning. You know, I'm getting myself ready to go. And the other morning, I found a very interesting quote on my bathroom mirror. It was from my wife. And it said, inspirational quote of the day, don't be an ass. So she's taken a very unique approach to telling me when I'm going in a wrong direction. But that's the sort of the background of Mike, entrepreneurial wise, family wise. And so I want to get into the power of dreams. Why are dreams so important? We only get one chance to go on this journey. We don't get to do it twice. It's life take one. And I read an article recently on LinkedIn that said only 2% of people live their dreams. What happens to the other 98%? What's going on? And there's a variety of reasons. I'm going to share a couple of those, but I hear, someone said the other day, I heard this really interesting quote that so many people die at age 25, but they're buried at age 85, or they're driving through life and they park and they don't go any further. And there is this reality. We don't get to do it twice. We can't screw it up and come back and say, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to try this life thing over again. We get one shot at it. And so let me ask you a question. Do you have a big dream? Is there something that's going on in your life right now where you're really dreaming about? And I put this little chat box notation there to remind me, to remind you. So if you're an entrepreneur, well, I'm just going to throw one out. If you are an entrepreneur and you're running a company and you're looking to build a business, you're looking to build a big business, a $1 million business, $1 million life, or multi-million, whatever it might be, in the chat box, and I'm going to tell you the power of this, in the chat box, put million, put the word million, or put a 1 and a dollar sign in a million, just in there. If this is your passion, if this is your goal, if you want to get there, there is power in throwing this out to the universe. There is energy in throwing this out there to say, yes, I want to get to this next level. Maybe for you, it's not the money part. Maybe you are inspired by your team. Maybe you have a small team of employees or a large team. Maybe your goal is, I want to build my team and make their lives powerful. I get it. When you have employees, you have a responsibility. So if your goal, if your passion is, yeah, I want to build my team, I want to take them to the next level, put team in the chat box. And like I said, there is magic to this. You put million, you're throwing it out into the universe. You put team, I'm building my team. I want to help my team. I want to help my team. And as you're running a small business, I can tell you, your team becomes your family. You end up spending more time with your team than with your family. That's what happens a lot of times in the world of entrepreneurship. And I have to tell this story. I was talking to Steve prior to getting on, and there was a gentleman that I know. I was talking to him yesterday. I said, so how was Thanksgiving? You know, you got to spend time with your family, and you did some traveling. And he goes, and I said, yeah, so how's your family? And how was Thanksgiving? And he paused and he looked at me and he said, Mike, Thanksgiving made me miss COVID. So that's a dude that didn't necessarily have a great relationship or a lot of fun with his family, but it's interesting as we go through this. So here is a question. Why don't we set goals? And again, I put the little chat box thing in there. Why don't we set goals? You know, this is one of those questions that I ask a lot, and I'm curious what you think. Why don't people set goals? What is the reason? What is there a reason why we stop dreaming? Is there a reason why we, are, like Rachel said, afraid to fail. Love it. Cheryl, fear. Yep. Wendy, fear of failure. Julia, fear of failure. We don't want to fail. It seems like there's a trend, right? Fear of failure. There's a whole bunch of reasons. Everyone seems to glom onto the fear thing. Well, I'm going to share with you what I think are the 3 reasons. Number 1, we never learned this in school. Never learned it. This isn't part of the curriculum in grade school. This is, you got to learn your math and your spelling and all that other stuff. They never taught you to dream and set big goals. Number 2, you might not have had the best parents. Your parents may have put you introduced you to some things that weren't really the most powerful things to build your business and build your life. So parents. And then the third one, a lot of you hit on that. It's fear. We're afraid. We're afraid to take risks. We're afraid to go out in the world. We're afraid to fail. We're afraid if we set a big goal and we don't achieve it, what's going to happen to us? And that to me is so powerful. And the brain is such an amazing thing. I believe that this thing that sits on our shoulders is the power plant. I call it the power plant. It is so unbelievably powerful. The thoughts, the beliefs, the language, the physiology, the focus, the habits, all of the things that have gone into our brain. There is a reality. We are who we are. We are where we are because of all the stuff that has gone into our brain since birth. No one can argue that. However, we can change who we are. We can change where we are if we change what goes into our brain. And so if there is a fear or an apprehension to setting goals, I can promise you that all we got to do is move a few levers and you can get the confidence and the ability and the tenacity to give it a shot, give it your best, and don't be afraid. Here's another chat box one. I love this one. Everyone hopefully has heard this saying. What is this saying? Sticks and stones will break my bones, but what? Sticks and stones will break my bones, but I'm trying to scroll to the bottom. I can't get to the bottom. All right. Words will never hurt me. Words will never hurt me. We've all heard that saying. And you know what I say to that? Garbage. Words can hurt. Words can crush us. Things maybe that our parents said to us, things maybe that happened in our youth, things that we've read. And this is where fear comes from, because words and lack of self-esteem, words can really mess with us. When I was in high school, I had a nasty self-esteem issue. And it wasn't because of my parents, but I was bullied when I was in high school. I was a chubby kid. And guess what? They weren't kind to me. and it messed with my brain. And when it messes with your brain, it messes with your actions because you make different decisions. And so I want to just share that sticks and stones can't break your bones, but words will hurt. And so we have to be cautious about that. And so now the reason I shared that is because that's the backdrop. That's the backdrop to how we get to the Entrepreneurs Trilogy, which is really my philosophy on entrepreneurship. It is not all about spreadsheets and social media and cash flow and strategic plans and business plans. Even though a couple months ago, I did a webinar on BNI about writing a business plan, it's not all about that. The Entrepreneurs Trilogy and entrepreneurship is a roller coaster. It's highs and lows, it's ups and downs. You know, just imagine yourself being on that roller coaster when it goes click, 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 and you start going up that steep hill, and you get to the very top. And what they do is they just chuck you off the end, and you go flipping around left and right and throwing up on people behind you. That's why I always sit in the front. But that's the crazy things that happen. This is what entrepreneurship is. It's highs and lows. And I've had some big wins. I've had some nasty defeats. I had one period I want to share with you because it helped me grow, and it helped me get to the point where I'm at now by being the educator. Is I had 4 weeks, which I call my 4 weeks of poo. You know, you can use whatever word you want in place of poo. But this was several years ago, and I had a pretty good sized business. We had like maybe 50 employees, had like 20 million in sales, 25 million in sales. And there was a 3-year period where things weren't going great. During that same 3-year period, my mom was dying of cancer. So my mom, you know, she had lung cancer, and it was one of those things, if you've ever had a relative or a friend with cancer and they go in for the chemo drips, it's nothing but sit in a room, quiet time, and drip. And that was a 2.5-year period where I was with my mom, and it was special because I got to know her at a much deeper level during this period. But there were two macro things going on in my life that weren't so great. And then my mom passed. And I remember saying to my wife, I said, honey, guess what? We now have a guardian angel up there. She is going to help us resurrect this business. And the business had already started to turn around. And we were so excited that things were starting to go in the right direction. And I said, this guardian angel, I said, Mom, you got to help us here. 7 days after my mom died, I got a letter from our bank that said, Mike, I need you to give me $1 million or we're going to shut you down. 7 days after that, my wife goes into the hospital with pneumonia, ICU, almost died. Now, I thought pneumonia was an extreme case of the sniffles. Apparently not. Learned a little differently. And to close out that beautiful month, I got a letter from the IRS that said I was being audited. So needless to say, there was some nasty stuff going on. And then I said, I wanted to share, this is my angel. This is my mom. This is my guardian angel. And I said, Mom, you missed the point. I said, you're missing this whole thing. It's like, you're my angel up there. All the good stuff is supposed to flow my way. It didn't work out. It wasn't a great time. And so, like I said, with the sticks and the stones and the words will hurt me, when we put bad stuff into our brain, it messes with us. And so my brain became a septic tank. My brain was not this. As you can see, how vibrant and beautiful and powerful. My brain was not there. I was putting bad stuff in, lots of bad stuff. There was, I had alcohol problems. I had eating problems. My family didn't like me. I was depressed. I was seeing a shrink. I was on medication. It was a bad time in my life. And this was one of those times when I said, you know what? What do I need to do? What do I need to do to get back here? So I hired a coach. I hired a Tony Robbins coach. And I remember this day clear as day. I was sitting in one of my sessions with him, and I was going through my normal sob story, crying. And he said 2 words to me that completely changed my life many years ago. 2 words. He said, get up. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm in the middle of my crying. You have to leave me be. He said, get your blank off the couch and repeat after me. And he said, I've done it before. I'll do it again. And he started giving me these mantras and these sayings, and it just got me inspired and motivated. And I came out of it. I broke through. And it was that breakthrough that helped me develop my philosophy on entrepreneurship. And I call this the Entrepreneur's Trilogy. We are not just businessmen and women. No way in hell. We are men and women long before we're men and women. In the Entrepreneur's Trilogy, I believe that we are the star. You and I are the star of our movies. 3 movies that we live. The first one is Heart Set. The second one is Mindset. And the third one is Skill Set. We are the CEO. We're the star. We're the movie star. The first movie, Heart Set, is our health, our relationships, friends and family, and our happiness. And if you have those 3, in abundance, all the rest of things are not important. You know, I heard a great quote the other day that said, if you're healthy, you have 1,000 dreams. If you're not, you only have one. So we need to cherish our health. We need to cherish this one spot right here. The second movie is Mindset. Like I said earlier, we are who we are because of all the stuff that we've dumped into our brains, our mind, our motivation, and our movement. This is the thing above the shoulders. How do we get here? Where am I going? Why do I want to get there? How am I going to get there? And we're going to get into all this stuff. And then ultimately, you know, the third movie is Skill Set, right? We run businesses. You know, you got to understand the fundamentals. What is your product portfolio, your service, competitive landscape? Where do you sit in the marketplace? You know, your ideal client, you know, in your target market and your strategic marketing plan. Business can get overwhelming. But today, I want to spend some time here. The thing that drives us, what is our motivation in the motivation world, is in the world of setting goals and dreams and having a passion and getting to that next level. In order to live your dream, in order to do something you've never done, you need to become someone you've never been. This is fundamental to the fear factor, right? We talked about why do we not set goals? Fear, fear, fear. Well, if that's the reason, how do we squash our goals? We need to become someone we never were. And that takes new inputs into our brain. I want to share with you, this is one of my clients, absolutely wonderful woman, totally kicking butt in business, but she had those demons. She had those things that were messing with her brain, and she was struggling to get to that next level. And they're always so stressed, you know, we're unable to focus on our strengths. And now it's so much fun. It can be fun. If you are one of those entrepreneurs that are out there and you're stressed and overwhelmed and like, how do I get to that next level? It can happen, but it needs to happen from the neck up, and it needs to happen not just with the business stuff. So this is Kim. She did it. Oh, here's another one. I was always handcuffing myself. And it wasn't the skills of business that she was handcuffing. It was the mental aspect, and she's done a phenomenal job. And so right now you may be sitting there saying, all right, Mike, you know, I am fired up on this webinar, but you also may be saying, yeah, I know I need some help. I know I would like someone to talk to. And I wanted to share with you, like, the webinars are phenomenal. I go to webinars all the time, but I've never really had a true breakthrough in a webinar. It's always been something outside of that. So if you want to grab a call with me, I put on the screen, I call it a crush it call. It's going to be short, it's going to be sweet, but we're going to dig into, take a look at where you are today. Where do you want to go? Focus on your trilogy. If you want to scan the QR code, you can get right to my calendar, or better still, write down the URL here, the website, because I don't want you to go filling out the calendar right now. I want you to stay present. So thesavagesecrets.com/call Mike. Again, I'll pop that into the chat box a little bit later. But if that's you, take advantage of this. You know, I'm opening my calendar up for a few days, and it's going to be fun. Now, the meat and potatoes, the 5-step crush it formula. If you are an entrepreneur and you're running a business, is this you? Like, do you feel every day you go to the office, maybe you're working with your home office, and you're putting your feet up? Lynn says, no, this is not Lynn. But no, isn't this what entrepreneurship? Frank says, no way. Come on, guys. It's like, this is what, definitely not from Rachel. Scott says no. What do you mean? This is entrepreneurship. Heather, an emphatic no with exclamation points. Or is this kind of more along the lines of where you think you are mentally, where you think you are from a frustration standpoint? You know, this is kind of what I experience, a little bit of frustration. And I see this all the time. And here's the reason why. Like I said, men and women first. We're men and women first. So our personal lives, we all got them, right? We got, if you have kids, you have kids. You may have school. You may have school loans. You may have parents. You may, have, you have to drive your kids around. You have to go grocery shopping. You have to clean the house. You have to mow the lawn. You have to do all of these life things, right? You got to take care of the pet. The pet gets sick. Steve told me he had a fun night last night with his dog throwing up all over the house. But we have our personal life stuff. Then we have the business life, right? Then we're trying to run companies. We're trying to build our businesses. And we have employees and cash flow and health insurance and sales plans and strategic marketing and operations and all the stuff associated with that. So ultimately, this is us, right? And I put the quote mark or the chat box icon there because if this is you, I want a hell yeah. Give me a hell yeah in the chat box. Like, yeah, Mike, I get it. Hell yeah, man, because I have my personal life, I have my business life. I'm doing my best to stay balanced. I'm doing my best to stay aligned. I'm doing my best to please my kids and my spouse and my parents and my neighbors. And all, by the way, I got a business and I got employees. Yes, this is what it is. This is the challenge. And you are the CEO. This is your shield. I call this a savage shield. If you can get control of these things, your thoughts, your beliefs, your language, your physiology, your focus, your habits, if you can get control of that, that's step one. Step one is, and then we look at life. There's a whole bunch of different areas of our life. I call these 6 major areas, and this is in the download. This in this book. You have this in there. In all of these things are related. This isn't one of those things like you might have seen a piece of pizza where they show, well, each of your areas of your life are separate pieces of pizza. That's nonsense. Everything in our lives are interconnected. It's all connected. If you are having health problems, you think that's going to affect you in other areas. If you are having business problems, might that affect you or impact you with your family? If you're having financial problem, might that affect you? It's all related. So the very first step is when you go to the book, when you go and fill this out, I challenge you to do a self-assessment. And in each one of these circles, put in the number from 1 to 10 where you think you are. Now, if you look at this individual and you just take a peek and you say, they're doing really good in the fun category, but they're suffering in the other categories, can you kind of get a sense of where the imbalance is? Maybe they're a partier. Maybe they don't have any responsibilities, but that's an easy way to identify where the challenge is. Here's another one. Here's another one. What if you have this and you're crushing it in your finances and you're crushing it in your business, but your health is suffering, your family is suffering, your relationships are suffering, your fun is suffering. We are emotional human beings, and all of these things are interconnected. Now, I want to share with you, what about this person? What about the person that is perfect 10s everywhere? You know them. You see them on Facebook all the time. They're telling you about how wonderful their vacations are and their children and their kids and their parents. And look at the beautiful things that I just did. Here's what I believe about the perfect 10 person. They do not exist. Okay. There's a smoke screen. There might be a whole bunch of stuff that they're posting out there, but it's very difficult. It's very difficult to live here. And so step one in the journey of goals is what I call SMART goals. And I didn't invent this. SMART goals have been around for a long time, but SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. Step one. The next thing is, and I'm going to share just some examples of SMART goals. I will lose 24 pounds over the next 6 months and weigh 134 pounds by 12/31/2023. Specific, measurable, attainable depending on where you are, relevant, and time-based. Perfect. Here's another one. I will save $25,000 over the course of the next 2 years and take my family to Disney in January 2024. Beautiful, specific, detailed. Yes, it's there. Rather than, hey, I hope I take my kids to Disney someday. I will increase my sales in the next by 30% with total revenue by year-end 2023 at 2.3 million. Beautiful. That is a great start. The challenge with SMART goals is it's not enough. There is the next level. And this is why Please download this because the worksheet goes into the information here, all the things that I'm going to talk about. But SMART goals are great. They're a start, but there's no meat behind them. You can sit there on January 1st, and a lot of my companies have been in the fitness equipment industry. The greatest day of the year for me was always January 2nd, because New Year's resolutions start on January 1st, and they buy the fitness equipment and go to the gyms on January 2nd, and they're all done by February 15th. Interesting business model, but you need to write them down. So there are 5 special areas within the workbook, 5 areas for each goal. And I'm going to step you through, as an example, one of the goals that I had. And I wrote this goal down, and it's just to show you how this works. I wrote this goal down January 1st, 2021. It said, I will speak in front of an audience of 1,000 entrepreneurs before 12/31/2022 and be paid at least $10,000. It's SMART, specific, measurable, attainable. It's a stretch, relevant, and time-based. But that wasn't enough. I had to go into detail. I wanted to really make this happen. It was super important to me. And so what are the action items that I had to take? Join National Speakers Association. I did some webinars. I did a bunch of free speaking. Then the next thing is, what are the obstacles that can get in my way? Quite frankly, I'd never done it before. Fear, never did it. COVID at that time, we didn't know what was going on, January 2021. And honestly, the largest group I ever spoke to was church, 50 people. So I didn't know, but those were the obstacles. What is some of the help that I needed? Who are the people that I needed to bring into my life to help me get to this point? So I looked into speaking coaches and spent a bunch of time on YouTube and did a whole bunch of things to sort of learn the industry. And then this is the most important one, hands down. Whenever you set a goal, this is the most important one. And I'm going to share with you this is your why. This is your reason. If you go out and say, hey, I want to lose 50 pounds, that's great. Why? So this was my why. The why that I had at this portion for this particular goal was, I believe my purpose on earth is to build entrepreneurs so they can build amazing businesses and live amazing lives. And I said, I must be a motivational speaker to do this. Now, I don't know if that's true, but I believed it. That was my purpose. And I want to share, dreams come true. They don't come true accidentally. I was blessed to be the keynote speaker in BNI Cambodia National Convention in August of this year, August 2022, where I spoke to approximately 1,000 entrepreneurs. There was actually 950, so I kind of gave myself the win. And I was paid a lot of money for this. But the point is that this was not, hey, I hope it happens. This was specific. This was digging into the details. This was writing it down. It was in my 2021 goals book. I want to share with you another dude, one of my clients, same type of situation. He has an amazing construction company up here in Massachusetts, amazing construction company, but he wanted to get to the next level. He had a personal goal. This wasn't a professional goal. He wanted to take his children to Disney World. Now, what I'm showing you here is all blurry because I have a spreadsheet that also, if you're a spreadsheet nerd, send me an email at coachmike@thesavagesecrets.com and I'll shoot you the spreadsheet. You can put all your goals in the spreadsheet. But he wrote down one specific goal. He said, I want to take my family to Disney World, 2 young, beautiful children. And I want to stay in the park. And I want this kind of condo, and I want to do this, and I want to go this time of year. He was so specific about it. He was obsessed with it. And what did it mean to him? It was important to him because he wanted to give his little kids the best. I got this text in March of this year from him down in Disney World. If you look at the smile on that little girl's face, and that doesn't inspire you, this is what he sent to me after he worked for 18 months to do this. My point is, all of the dreams can come true, but it's not easy. We have to dig deep. And he dug deep and he created this. And my promise is that I didn't notice the words. I didn't put this can be you. This will be you. This is 100% possible. This can transform wherever you want to go with your life. This can be you. It's 5 steps. The first step is have the dream, have the vision, visualize something in your life. And I encourage you to take a picture of it and take that picture and stick it on your bathroom mirror or stick it somewhere where you can see it every day. If it's a vacation, you want to go to Paris, make sure you've got every one of those beautiful places in Paris, the Eiffel Tower and the Louvre. I used to, know a little bit about art. If you have all these beautiful places, put it in your eyes. We cannot die at 25 and be buried at 85. Dream big, have that vision. Number 2, we need SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-based. They need to be specific. You can't be a wandering generality in this world and accomplish stuff. Things don't accidentally happen. Now, I was saying this the other day, things don't accidentally happen to us, and you don't get rich accidentally. And someone said to me, "Hey, Mike, Aaron Judge's home run, number 62, the kid that caught it, it's worth $3 million. So there are the exceptions to the rule. That stuff just falls in our lap, but it's not typical. So SMART goals, number 2. The third step is we really have to take all 5 steps. We got to ask the questions. Whatever the goal is, if it's a health goal, what are the action items you need to take? What are the obstacles that can get in the way? What help do you need? Do you need a coach? You need someone to help you at the gym? And why is it important to you? Why is losing weight important to you? This is the one that so many people miss. You hear going on diets, and the New Year's resolution never works. The one thing that can make it work is if it's important enough to you. If your why is strong enough, then it can happen. You're not all of your dreams are not going to happen, but the best chance to make them happen is to follow all of those steps. The next piece, write them down. I'm begging you. This is my 2022. No, this is my 2023. This is my 2022 book. All of the goals that I had last year are all written down in here. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh yeah, I got them all done." No, I didn't. Things happen throughout the course of the year. But this is why when you're running a company, you have annual goals. Actually, when you're running a company, you can have multi-year goals. If you're building a business, you want to sell in 5 years, that's a multi-year goal. But if you have goals in your business, you have monthly goals, you have quarterly goals, you have annual goals. It's always, I need to reassess. And so when you create your goals and you write them down in your workbook, you stare at it every day. This thing sits on my desk. It sits on my desk and I look at it. I'm not going to say I look at it every day, but I look at it a lot when I have quiet time, when I have downtime. So this is step number 4. And step number 5, which to me could honestly be the most important, but I don't think any one of these are important, is share it with somebody. I just put a picture of me there because I'm a coach. I help people go on this journey. But when you share, this was the reason I said, put in the chat box. Put in the chat box where you want to go. Put in the chat box if you want to build your team. Put in the chat box if you want to build a multi-million-dollar business and a multi-million-dollar company. Put it in there because you're thrown out into the universe. And then sometimes I say it's very difficult. It's impossible to fly the plane of entrepreneurship solo. It's impossible to fly the plane of life solo when you have those people that are in your life that are calling you on your bleep. They're not taking your excuses like, "Well, great, I think I'm gonna grow sales by 50% next year." How many calls are you going to make per day? How many events are you going to go to? BNI is a phenomenal place. How many one-to-ones am I going to have? How many people am I going to reach out to? How many chapters, BNI groups am I going to visit? Write it down. Be specific. Get aggressive. Share it with other people. When you share your dreams with others, and especially someone that can hold you accountable, there's no more powerful force. Having a great mentor, coach, or guide is super powerful. I'm going to close with this. I'm going to give you a few steps to make this happen right now. Before I do that, I'm going to share with you a story. And this is a story about goals. And I want to introduce you to a buddy of mine. His name is Kevin Gosnell. Kevin and I were in a organization many years ago called Vistage. It's a bunch of CEOs. They get together and they learn stuff and they commiserate and they help each other. And they pat each other on the back. And we're at a point where we were really close, good friends. And He had kids about the same age as my kids, are both running companies like 20, 30 million, whatever it was. We became close. And then I ended up leaving Vistage, and I got a call from him 6 months after I left. And he calls, he says, Mike, I need a favor, bud. Can you come to my house? I'm starting a new business, and I would like to get your input. I would like to get your insight on this. And I'm like, yeah, man, no problem. Get there, and I get to his house, and there's like 6 or 7, maybe 7 people sitting around the table. He's there. I sat down, and he said, all right. He goes, great. Everybody's here. Okay, guys, I just want to let you know something. I have been diagnosed with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. I have a very aggressive form. I have 16 to 18 months to live. And what I'm going to do is I'm creating a nonprofit organization called ALS One. And what we're going to do is we're going to find a cure for ALS in 4 years or less. This was his goal. I want to find a cure for ALS in 4 years or less. Now, Kevin didn't make it. Kevin died literally 16 months after we sat down. I remember sitting around the table and getting up after he said this. I said, Kevin, what, time out. I said, what are you talking about? It was, oh, Mike, yeah, I got the diagnosis a couple months ago. And I got up from the table. I was in tears. I walked into the kitchen. His wife, Kathy, was there. I said, Kath, what the hell's going on? She goes, Mike, yeah, it's real. And, we had a moment. We cried. And I remember, this is why I'm so passionate about this dude. I remember sitting at his house. He died August 15th. I was at his house on August 2nd. We're sitting out on his porch, and it was a brutally hot day. Sun's beaming down. It's me and Kevin, his wife, Kathy, and his caretaker. And he's in a wheelchair, and he's got one of those masks. And he's holding the mask over his face to get some oxygen. And he takes the mask off, and he says, Mike, after we do this, I'm gonna connect with these doctors here at Boston, at Mass General in Boston. Then we're gonna do this. And he puts the mask back on, and he gets another breath. And he said, then after we do that, we got this fundraiser going on. This dude has inspired me. He set a goal. And in his 16 months, when you think you got a lot of pressure, in his 16 months, he created a nonprofit. And if you think creating a nonprofit is easy, it's a pain in the butt. He pulled together the best doctors and caretakers in Boston, and they put together this program, and they went hardcore at attacking this disease, ALS. One of the reasons that there's no cure is because there's not enough volume. In the pharmaceutical industry, I'm not going to get on my soapbox here, but if there's not enough clients, then it's hard to put money behind it. ALS, there's 5,000 diagnoses a year. So there's not a lot of people, but he pulled together 5 of the greatest specialists in Boston. He pulled together a board of advisors. This board of advisors was unbelievably powerful. He did a whole bunch of challenges raising money for ALS. He wrote a book. In 16 months, he wrote a book to his kids, the 100 greatest lessons that I want to share with my children. And then, of all things, he does a TED Talk. This dude did more in 16 months than many people do in their entire lives. The reason I'm sharing this story with you, the story of inspiration, is this guy was a goal setter. We would always talk about his goals, his dreams for his children, all these things. He would go out and go after it. And I promised him on his deck that day in August, I said, whenever I am on stage, I will present and I will share with you this story, als1.org, if you're ever interested in donating to that. To date, his foundation has raised $12 million. That is the power of goal setting. That is the power of dreaming. That is the power of getting to the next level. Now, my challenge to you is take this power, take this inspiration, take this fire in your belly, and download the book. And please, just don't try and fill them all out. Take one goal in each of these major 6 areas of your life. Go after it. Spend some quiet time before the end of the year, before the holidays. I'm so grateful that Steve gave me the opportunity to speak about this now, because once the holidays hit, it gets crazy. Once New Year's hit, way too many people are, well, it's already New Year. I might as well wait till the end of the next year. I'm going to challenge you right now. Do this. Go and download the book and fill out this form. There's only 2 ways to learn stuff in life, and that's your experience or through someone else. And when it's your experience, it typically hurts more, it costs more, and it takes longer. And the greatest learning laboratory on earth is at the feet of someone who's already done what you're trying to do. I commend every single one of you for being here today, because you did not have to be here. You are trying to take your life or your business to the next level. You're part of a global organization that makes a difference in the world. My final goal today, and I told you that I was promising this, is I want you to say this to yourself. I want you to say this out loud. If there is no one in the room that you're at, scream it out loud. Make sure you're on mute. Actually, Steve already put everybody on mute, so you can't say it. But 2023 will be the most magical year of my life, and I'm ready to crush it. Now, you can say that two ways. You can say 2023 is a wonderful year of my life, and I'm going to crush it. Or you can stand up and you can scream at the top of your lungs. Make sure the neighbors aren't hearing you. Make sure you don't think you're a wacko. But 2023 will be the most incredible year of my life, and I'm ready to crush it. So if this is you, please go after it. I want to just share this one more time. If you want to grab a chat with me, you can go to thesavagesecrets.com/call Mike. You can scan the QR code. It's a fast-paced call. If you want to start to peel back the layers of the onion on your world, your trilogy, what are the things that are holding you back? Love to grab a call with you. And that's it, my friend Steve. If we want to do some questions.
All right. First off, wow, that was inspiring, to say the least. That was an amazing presentation. Another great one from you, Mike. And we always appreciate what you bring to these talks.
Thank you.
And I think this is the first time I don't see any questions in the chat, because people in the Q&A, because people were so riveted by what you were saying, and they were so busy in the chat. I got to send you the copy of this chat, because it's pretty amazing to see. But let me start with a question, and maybe that'll inspire some questions in the Q&A. And that is this. In terms of goal setting, you and I are both fans of the book Atomic Habits.
Amen.
Right, learning little tiny habits to go over and kind of steamroll up into what your goals are going to be, right?
Yep.
So how do you figure out which are the habits that you need? Does it depend on the person, or is it just kind of in general, here's the way to hit your goals?
You know what? Awesome question. My most powerful advice would be, that's why it's called Atomic Habits. Start small. Start with one. It is very difficult to change a habit. I have a course called the Savage Sunrise, and it's all about morning routine. It's all about how to start your day on fire, how to start your day. If you want to be whacked and energetic, this is me. But start with something small. So for example, if one of your goals is to lose weight, don't start with, I'm going to the gym 6 hours a day every single day, and I'm going to sit there and I'm going to eat carrots and broccoli. No, have a plan. Start small. Maybe it's just one thing for the first month. I'm not going to eat chips. Or the number one culprit to me is I'm not going to eat junk food. I'm not going to drive into one of those places that their goal is to make you sick. I don't want to get on my fast food chain, but fast food rant. But pick one, try and do it for 30 days. Pick another one after you're good at that for 30 days, because the challenge is you got to lock it in. It's the same in business. If you want to get to that next level, and it's like, hey, you know what? I want to grow sales. In order to grow sales, I need to make sales calls. In order to make sales calls, how many sales calls? How many are you going to make? Block out your calendar. There's another good one just in business. Block out your calendar and lock it and say sales calls. And during that sales calls, shut your phone, shut your email off, and don't accept any incoming calls. You're making outgoing calls. Lock out that calendar. That's a great question, Steve, because it really is. It can become overwhelming. Any goal that you have, it can become massively overwhelming.
All right. So we have a quick question from Elizabeth saying, can you share the image of the Entrepreneur's Trilogy again?
Of course. And here's a funny story about this image. I did it, and my wife, in her creative way, she goes, well, why don't you look at this? This is a different way of looking at it. Basically, she said, dude, what you did was extremely ugly. And so she recreated it, but three pieces: heart set, mindset, skill set. Heart set to me is the most important, the most valuable, which is our health, our relationships, and our happiness. You know, if you got your health, you have 1,000 dreams. If you don't, you only have one. But just imagine you're sitting there, you're healthy, you have great relationships, and they're not all great. You know, I know the holidays can sort of screw at your brain a little bit. Great relationships, and you're happy. That's powerful stuff. I was on a call the other day with a guy, and I asked him a simple question: are you happy? And his answer to me, Mike, I don't know how to answer that. I'm like, wow. So this is number one. Number two, our mind, which is all the stuff that's gone into our brain since birth. And what are we putting in now? Because you got to guard your brain. You got to sit there and not let stuff go in. I very rarely, if ever, watch the news. You don't watch the news and hear of the stories very rarely of the firefighter climbing up the tree and pulling down the little pretty kitty cat. You hear about murder, and you hear about death, and you hear about accidents, and you hear about politicians, and you hear about people doing dumb stuff. So put good stuff in. I always say when it comes to your mind, you got to put in the good, the clean, the pure, the powerful, and the positive. And I stole that from one of my mentors, Zig Ziglar. Good, clean, pure, powerful, positive. So what do you put in your mind? How do you set your goals? And how do you get your butt off the couch? And then finally, it's the business piece of it, right? We run companies. We all have a product or service. We got an ideal client. We have a strategic marketing plan. All three of these come together, and this is the entrepreneur's trilogy. So I hope that you were able to, that helped you answer that question.
Yeah, that's great. Dana's asking, she says there was a lot to absorb in this presentation. Can we get a copy of your slides?
Oh, absolutely. Tell me. Yeah, you know what? In the chat box, put slides, and then put your email, coachmike@thesavagesecrets.com. So shoot me an email to coachmike@thesavagesecrets.com, and we'll get you a copy of the slides, the PDFs.
Great. All right. And Dawn, who is one of the most Givers Gain people I know of, Dawn Margowski, asks, is there a goal of yours that we can help you with, Mike?
Isn't she amazing? Like,
she's the best.
No, she is the best. And she was helping me. One of the goals I had this year, which didn't happen, my goal was I wanted to be the keynote speaker at the BNI USA National Convention in 2023 in Miami. And I found out that I didn't get that opportunity. So my next goal is that I want to be the keynote speaker at the BNI Global National Convention, the global convention in Madrid in November of 2023. So yes, Dawn, that is my new goal. And yes, I have created my goal sheet. But you know what? And this is also a lesson where I did set that goal, and I set that goal that I wanted to speak at the national convention in Miami next year, and it didn't happen. And you know what? I'm not going to sit there and pout. You know, a great quote from Mark Cuban, you're probably familiar. He goes, celebrate for a nanosecond, then move on. Mourn for a nanosecond, then move on. It's hard. Some stuff is more difficult to move on from than the others. But yeah, for the most part, and that is beautiful. She is an amazing, amazing woman. If you do not know Dawn, you need to know Dawn. Special human being. Thank you, sweetheart.
All right, we are at the end, and we are finished with questions. So, Mike, any final words before we sign off here?
Primarily, I want to not motivate. I want to inspire. In is internal. In is in your heart. In is in your head. I want to inspire you to take action as soon as you get off the webinar. I want to inspire you to download the worksheets. I want to inspire you to, at least before the end of this year, fill out one goal sheet in each of those categories. Just one. And you will find it amazing how much energy, when you're down and you're in the dumps and this stuff isn't going right in your life or in your business, when you start to envision something beautiful in the future, it could be a relationship, it could be a business event, it could be health. What you start to envision something in the future that's powerful, it creates this internal energy, and it can just basically put a smile on your face.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thank you, Mike, so much. Oh, can you hit that last slide if you would?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry.
All right. While you're going down there, I will say, please join us next week. Next Friday at noon, our webinar is about our BNI Online 2.0 rollout, which is happening right now. For some regions, some core regions right now already have it. Others are getting it in the next week or two. So please, if you are on a leadership team, especially, but if you're just a member in either an online or a hybrid chapter, please join us for this webinar, because it's really, we're going to make it so easy for you to sign up for this and get it into your chapter. It only takes a couple of clicks to happen, and everyone can get online with this kind of enhanced version of your Zoom meeting with so many cool features.
And if you want some energy, I've not seen Zach talk, but I know Jenny is a fireball.
Jenny's the best. Yeah,
a lot of excitement, a lot of energy.
Yep. And so, yeah, I think Zach is going to be the question answerer, and Jenny is just going to bring the fire as she always does. So, yeah, definitely tune in for next week on that one, and we'll see you then. Give yourselves a CEU for being on this one, and go set your goals. Mike just opened the doors for you.
Yep. Thank you all very much, and congratulations for taking the time. Do not miss these Friday 12 Eastern events that Steve puts on. They are magical, and you always will walk away with something super powerful.
All right. I appreciate that, Mike. Okay. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you all next time. Take care.
Thanks, Steve.